Resolutions following the National Commissioner's failure to report back to you on any contact and conversation he may have had with the minister. What were those steps you took?
Part of the, if I hear the question correct, Commissioner, on what I did after speaking to the National Commissioner not able to come back to me.
Yes.
I said earlier I had engagement with the Chief of Staff right at the beginning because he's a person I knew very well. And I even requested the Chief of Staff that he must try and arrange a meeting with the Minister so that we can be able to tell the Minister about the consequence of the letter that he has written. And after engaging with the National Commissioner, I did not leave it there. I continuously tried different individuals outside the structure of government, people that I thought the Minister might listen to. I tried to engage them, to try and reach out to the Minister so that we can talk about this. But that did not give me any success. I then took a decision to engage the Minister directly in the form of a WhatsApp that I sent him. He acknowledged that and he was to set up a meeting, but to date, that meeting never materialized.
General, you seem to have skipped paragraph 126 as another step that you took. Do you want to speak to that?
That is correct, Commissioner. In my effort to try and make sure that we get to engage with the Minister about this matter, part of my request to the National Commissioner was that if he's not able to get an audience with the Minister to talk about this, the least he must do is to approach the head of state, the President, because he accounts to the President, and the President knows about the establishment of this team and the work that the team is doing over these years. So he must be informed about what the Minister has done, and I want the National Committee to establish whether is a President aware of the decision of the Minister, is he supporting this decision of the Minister? Because as a Provincial Commissioner, I can't go directly to the President, so I needed to engage my boss, which is the National Commissioner, to reach out to his boss, the President, because, of course, the executive authority, the Minister, has taken a decision that seems to be contrary to what we are doing as the police. I also wanted to indicate, I reminded the National Commissioner that the work of this team was as a result of the interministerial committee. This is not a South African police service operation. This is an integrated operation which account to a group of ministers as doing oversight on behalf of the President. So it cannot be correct then that one minister takes a decision without being part of the collective, or even so, the decision that is taken is an operational decision, whereas the IMC at the beginning did not participate in the formation of the team. It was the National Commission that signs off the formation of the team. The IMC were only presented with a strategy that we're going to do, which they adopted, they agree with us, and they will have received or gave their opinions if there was no need for that to continue anymore. They will have convened us and told us that the country is okay now, the murder rates have gone down that are targeted to the politicians, or therefore you might want to reconsider this operational approach that you are doing and maybe revisit the strategy, but that didn't happen. So that was our concern.
And did you receive a report back from the National Commissioner whether he's attempted to speak to the President?
No, unfortunately, I did not receive a report back. I do not know what was engagement. It is for that reason, Commissioner, that without receiving that, I personally reached out to the chairperson of the portfolio committee as an oversight body to the police work, because I realize it looks like every door I'm knocking, nothing is happening. National Commissioner, please speak to the minister, it's not happening. National Commissioner, check with the president, I'm not getting a feedback. And the next body that I must engage is an oversight body, which is Parliament. I then contacted the chairperson of the portfolio committee, Honorable Cameron, myself. I requested him to invite me to the portfolio committee. Ordinarily, I was not supposed to be part of the portfolio committee. But through my request, he invited me to be part of the portfolio committee. It is that portfolio committee where I was able to then express my feelings about this decision in the presence of both the National Commissioner and the Minister. But even that effort failed. Nothing happened as a result. So those are all the efforts that I did.
Thank you, Ms. Silla.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just to remind you, General, there's a portion in your statement where you elaborate further on these steps, and we will get back to it. And in particular, the engagement you had with the portfolio committee, because that's the first place where you were engaged by potential decision makers on the matter. All other previous efforts had been unsuccessful. But before we get there, getting back to our page 44, and I'm at paragraph 127, I'm going to invite you to read your paragraph 127 into the record. And then I point out before you do so that, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, that's conjecture on your part. It's not a fact what is in 127. So if you're going to read it, I need you to explain what informs or what leads you to form that conclusion.
Commissioner, on this paragraph, I wrote that at this stage, it had become clear to me at least that the minister issued the directive based on advice that other than based on the records, official records of the SAPS. It was an advice from someone that would have told the minister. So I strongly suspected that that advice the minister received was the one to disband the task team. And it is my feeling, Commissioner, that after having received these continuous briefing from the Gauteng counterintelligence operation about the work that they are doing in Gauteng and the sensitivity of the cases they are investigating and the extent of corruption that they are experiencing with these investigations, that for sure someone believed, because there were threats against the 2 detectives of Gauteng and the 10 members of the political killings task team had came to Gauteng to assist. Hence, they became part of the project. Someone thought that the political killings task team was the one that was responsible for the investigations in Gauteng towards these criminal syndicates that we had alluded to, we spoke about earlier, which involved and the participation of senior police officers in the South African Police Service, especially at the head office, as well as the senior politicians and their associate. So somebody believed that it is the political killings task team that was based with the Gauteng investigation. That was my conclusion, that whoever advised a minister advised him to close the team because they thought it is the team that is doing that investigation.
Now, and I did qualify that that is your conclusion, and in this paragraph at least, you don't substantiate that conclusion or provide a basis for that conclusion. My question to you is, do you personally have any evidence, or is there anyone within the investigative arm or involved in the investigations who would be able to adduce sufficient evidence to at least support the conclusion you have drawn? Do you know of the existence of such evidence?
Commissioners, I am aware of the evidence that was extracted as the team in Gauteng were investigating, which made me reach the conclusion that indeed this is what made someone to influence the minister to close it. Because the evidence that we're going to present later by someone who's going to come before this commission who were part of this Gauteng investigation, they uncovered that communication within the syndicates was making a reference to the team, not being understanding that what is happening in Gauteng is for Gauteng, is not for KZN.
You say communication between the syndicate, but you are not implying that that communication extended to the minister, are you?
To some degree, the associates, as I referred to here on this paragraph, are associates of the minister. And the very same associate does show communication that seems to suggest that the minister is fully involved in the decision that this syndicate is taking.
Do you accept the responsibility on your part to substantiate fully, not necessarily today, but in the fullness of time, the conclusions you have drawn in that paragraph?
Yes, Commissioners, evidence is there on the record, although some of it will perhaps require to be covered in camera, but the evidence is there that will support my conclusion on this. The individuals, the colleagues, as I said earlier, my July briefing was a collective effort. Men and women who are part of the investigation in Gauteng, who knows and they've gathered evidence to support the allegations that we ended up making. And they are going to come before this commission and they're going to present that evidence. We will be able, under oath, to confirm that indeed that is evidence that we've collected, and we have no reason not to believe that it is the real evidence that proves the linkages between the syndicates and the minister himself.
I suspect the commissioners will flag that particular paragraph and the allegations you make there, and we'll see where the commission goes and whether or not eventually the evidence is adduced. Continuing with your statement.